Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
All right. I've been speaking for almost 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was told nobody was responding to my greeting. This is unusual.
Nobody heard you. Nobody heard you, Ara.
I was at the point I said something must be wrong with this speaker. All right. Once again, good evening. Our class tonight, precisely we are looking at activity-based costing. Activity-based costing is one of the modern costing methods. If you recall, for about 3 lectures, we've been looking at modern costing method. We started with life cycle costing. Thereafter, we moved to target costing. Last week, we looked at the theory of constraints and throughput accounting. Tonight, we shall be rounding up modern costing techniques with activity-based costing. What is activity-based costing? Why is this costing method different from the traditional costing method? What does this costing method, the activity-based costing, try to explain that the previous costing method or the traditional costing method failed to explain? We shall be looking at this tonight. First is, we explain the traditional costing method. Under this method, we have the absorption costing method, and we have the marginal costing method. Under this method, generally under costing, we have different ways of classifying costs. Generally under costing, under cost accounting, we have different methods of classifying costs. You can classify your cost into direct cost and indirect cost. Costs can be classified into direct or indirect cost. Our direct cost, what I'm trying to do is to bring back the knowledge of cost accounting before I go to the topic proper, because this knowledge will help what we are doing tonight. Now we have direct costs. These are costs incurred and can be traced to a unit of products or service. If you like, you can note it down, it's not a crime. Direct cost. These are costs incurred and can be traced to a particular product or service. Example of direct costs are direct material cost, direct labor cost, and direct expenses. Please, can you mute Techno 6? Let me explain direct cost again. Direct cost. If you like, you can document this down. Direct cost. These are costs incurred and can be traced directly to a particular product or service. Example of direct cost are direct labor cost, direct material cost, and direct expenses. The addition of this cost, the addition of direct material cost, direct labor cost, and direct expenses is called prime cost. The addition of direct material cost, direct labor cost, direct expenses is what we call prime cost. Now, direct cost can be traced to a particular product. Hence, they can be allocated to that product. Direct costs do not create accounting problem. Direct costs do not create accounting problem. Because the cost can be traced to a particular product, what we need to do is to allocate the direct cost to the products involved. For example, our company manufactures 3 products. We have Coke, we have Coca-Cola, we have Fanta, we have Sprite. Any cost incurred that can be traced to a bottle of Coke will be allocated to a bottle of Coke. Any cost incurred that can be traced to a bottle of Fanta will be allocated directly to a bottle of Fanta. Any cost incurred that can be traced to a bottle of Sprite will be allocated directly to a bottle of Sprite. Direct costs do not create accounting problem. Now we now have number 2 category, indirect cost. The number 2 categories is the indirect cost. Please, just 1 minute. 1 minute, please. Just to take water. All right, let's continue. Indirect costs are costs incurred, but cannot be traced to a particular product or service. Indirect costs, these are costs incurred, but cannot be traced to a particular product or service. Example of indirect cost, examples of indirect cost are indirect material cost, indirect labor cost, indirect expenses. Example of indirect cost, I will repeat that, are indirect material cost, indirect labor cost, indirect expenses. The summation of this cost, the summation of indirect material cost, indirect labor cost, indirect expenses is called overhead. Because this cost, overhead cost. Overhead is called overhead cost.
Thank you.
You are concerned. Now, because these costs cannot be traced to a particular product, the question is, how do we account for this cost? Let's take a good example. Our company, we are into production. We produce Coke, Fanta, and Sprite in our company. And we have rented a factory. At this factory, we manufacture Coke, we manufacture Sprite, and we manufacture Fanta. And we have incurred a rental cost of 1 million naira. Factory rent 1 million. Now the question is, how do we share this cost to the different products? This cost cannot be traced to, in our factory, we manufacture 3 products and we pay rent of 1 million. The rent cannot be traced directly to Fanta. It can be traced directly to Sprite. It can be traced directly to Coke. It is for all the products the company produces. The question is, how do we account for this cost? How do we account for overhead? Meaning that, how do we share overhead costs to the different products produced by the company? How do we share the rents? What proportion of rent should be given to Coke? What proportion of the rent should be given to Fanta brand? What proportion of the rent should be given to Sprite brand? How do we account for overhead? In accounting for overhead, we have the traditional absorption method. In accounting for overhead, we have the traditional volume absorption method or absorption volume method. Under the traditional absorption volume method, overhead is absorbed using a single factor. Under the traditional absorption volume-based method, overhead cost is absorbed. When we say absorbed, it is shared into different products. That word absorbed means it is shared and included into product cost. That word absorbed means that we are sharing overhead and we are allocating it to the different products. Under the traditional absorption volume-based method, overhead cost is absorbed using a single factor. This single factor could be direct labor hours or machine hour. I will take that again, because it is not impossible that these days, examiner will play with a question from this environment. It's been a while it was texted. The next four days have not been seen question from here. It's not impossible. Let me take that again. Under the traditional volume, traditional absorption volume-based method. Overhead cost is absorbed using a single factor. The single factor could be direct labor hours or machine hours. The single factor could be direct labor hour or machine hours. Oh, I'm breaking, okay. No deliberative, not breaking. I'm actually trying to slow down so that you can take notes. Albeit, I'll move on. The single factor could be direct labor hour or machine hour. Now, please, if it is breaking, it's actually your network. Your network is slow to receive the message. All right. Now, if you look at the traditional approach, several factors has given rise to overhead. Several costs has given rise to overhead, but overhead is being shared using a single factor. That is a major limitation of the traditional method of costing. Several factors have given rise to overhead costs, but a single factor is being used to share the overhead to the different products. That is the major limitation of the traditional costing method. And that is what gives rise to the development of activity-based costing. Activity-based costing was developed to resolve the deficiency of the traditional absorption costing method. Traditionally, all overhead costs are absorbed on production volume, measured as labor or machine hour. Look at it here, please. Traditionally, all overhead costs are absorbed. I'm trying to highlight this. Oh, it's not allowing me. Why? Let's go on. Traditionally, all overhead costs are absorbed on production volume, measured by labor hours or machine hour. And in reality, several factors have contributed to the overhead cost. In modern day costing system, there are several factors that contribute to the overhead cost. It will be wrong to absorb overhead using a single factor. This is what activity-based costing tries to correct. Activity-based costing is an approach to costing. Activity-based costing is a modern approach to product costing, whereby the overhead costs are shared to products based on the activities that has given rise to the overhead. Let me take that again. Activity-based costing is a modern costing, is a modern costing whereby overhead costs are shared to different products based on the activities that has given rise to the overhead, which may not be labor hours or machine hour. It is believed that activity-based costing will result in appropriate product costing because overhead costs will be accounted for and shared to products based on the activities that has given rise to the overhead. These activities are called cost drivers. Okay, let me pause. Who is having problem of breaking of network and coming? Let me repeat my point. Please confirm that you are having an issue with network breaking on and off.
I can hear you very well, sir, but you've been a little bit fast as you started
Okay, yes.
ABC.
Okay, I was a bit fast. The Techno man, at any point in time your network is off. It's your network, not mine. At any point in time you can't hear me. Look at your network. All right. I can understand that I'm a bit fast. I was trying to be slow. I was trying to be moderate with my explanation. Or again, somebody said that it was breaking. It was the person's network. Now I'll go back to it. Activity-based costing is a modern costing method that is developed to correct the deficiency of the traditional absorption costing method, whereby to correct the deficiency of the traditional costing method. Traditionally, overhead costs are absorbed on production volume. The production volume could be labor hours or machine hour. Traditionally, that is under the traditional costing method, overhead costs are absorbed using production volume. This production volume could be labor hours or machine hours. To correct this deficiency, activity-based costing was developed. We now say activity-based costing is a modern approach. Activity-based costing is a modern approach to product costing, whereby overhead cost will be absorbed using the activities. Overhead cost will be absorbed using the activities that has given rise to the overhead cost. Using the activities that has given rise to the overhead cost. These activities are called cost drivers. These activities are called cost drivers. It is believed that if activity-based costing is used, company can determine appropriate product cost. One of the advantages of activity-based costing is that it enables a company to determine appropriate product cost, appropriate cost for their products. Now, steps involved if you are to use activity-based costing. Steps involved if you are to use activity-based costing. Step 1, identify the major activities of the organization. Step 1, identify the major activities of the organization that support production process. That is your step number 1. Step number 2 is to determine what we call the cost pool. Let me explain that briefly. You use cost allocation and apportion method to charge overhead to each of these activities. Let's summarize that. It simply means determine the overhead cost of each activity. It simply means determine the overhead cost of each activity. The overhead cost of each activity is what we call cost pool. The overhead cost of each activity is what we call cost pool. That will happen in step 2. Look at step 1, identify the major activities of the company. 2, determine the cost of each activity. The process of determining the cost of each activity. The process of determining the overhead cost of each activity is what we call cost pool. Then step number 3, identify the factors that determine the size of the cost. What that means is identify factors that contribute to each activity. This is what we call the cost driver. The factor that contribute to each activity cost. This is called what? Your cost driver. Your step 4. For each activity, calculate the cost driver rates. For each cost pool, for each activity, calculate your cost driver rate. Then step number 5. Charge overhead cost to the product using the calculated cost driver rate. charge overhead cost to the various products using your calculated cost driver rates. Charge overhead cost to the different products using your calculated cost driver rates. These are the 5 steps involved when you are dealing with activity-based costing. These are the 5 steps involved when dealing with activity-based costing. Or really, you don't need to cram any step. What you need to do, we only put step to aid learning and to aid understanding. What you need to do is to understand the principle you are dealing with. You don't need to cram too much. The purpose of steps is to guide explanation and to guide learning. Now, what you do, if you do question, by the time you solve 1, 2 questions, and you're able to understand the principle, you don't need to cram anything to exam, really. Because the examiner will not be looking at one step you are doing anyway. You'll just be looking at your working. The step is to provide, is to aid teaching, to aid learning, and to aid learning. All right, any question? Every other thing is addition. We have explained. Any question, please? All right. Every other thing is just addition. Let us start early. Illustration 1. Who is any volunteer to read?
Okay, illustration 1.
All right, Joy, thank you. Kate Peters.
Kate Peters, yeah. Kate Peters Limited manufactures and sell components used in the computer hardware industry. The company currently charges overheads to products using a plant-wide rate based on direct labor hours. This
Please
method
hold on, ma.
was
Please hold on, ma.
okay.
The company currently charges overhead to products using a plant-wide rate based on what?
Direct labor.
As you read, you note what the examiner is saying. Currently, overhead is charged to product using direct labor hour. You can continue, ma'am.
Okay. This method was introduced in 2008 when the company was established, and the company only produced one product since 2008. The company has invested heavily in advanced manufacturing technologies and increased their product reach. Kate Peters Limited operates in a very competitive market, and due to current economic conditions, they are coming under increasing pressure by their customers to reduce their prices. The company are considering the introduction of activity-based costing (ABC) system, and has provided the following information in relation to their 3 products. All figures assumes to be correct.
Let me help you, don't worry. Okay? Are you tired?
No, I'm not tired.
Okay. Product A.
Okay.
Go
Product
ahead.
A, product A, direct materials per unit, 1,000 naira. Product B, 1,200 naira. And product C, 1,500 naira. Direct labor hours per unit for product A is 10 hours. For product B is 8 hours. And for product C is 9 hours. Machine hours per unit for product A is 4 hours. For product B is 6 hours. And product C is 3 hours. Production/sales in units: 10,000 for product A, 4,000 units for product B, and 6,000 units for product C.
Thank you.
Direct labor is paid at 1 naira 40 kobo per labor hour. The
No,
company
140.
140. Oh, yeah, 140
140.
140 naira per labor hour. The company calculates selling price by applying a markup on cost of 25%.
All right.
Details of the overheads of Kate Peters Limited are as follows. In naira, machine-related costs, 2,460,000 naira. Setup cost, 1.8 million naira. Delivery cost, 680,000 naira. Quality-related cost, 640,000 naira. Further information in relation to all three products is given as follows. Product A, Product B, and Product C. Number of setup for Product A is 100, 30 for Product B, and 20 for Product C. Number of deliveries is 1,000 for Product A, 550 for Product B, 450 for Product C. Number of inspection, we have 200 for Product A, 100 for Product B, and 100 for Product C. We are required to calculate the unit production cost and unit profit using the traditional approach in costing.
Okay, let's start with A. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. May God bless the voice.
Thank you, sir.
Deliberately, I personally, I don't like jumping figures. It might take time, but it's aid learning. The requirement says calculate unit production cost and unit profits using the traditional approach in costing. Like we explained, under the traditional approach, overhead cost will be absorbed using either direct labor hours or machine hour. The examiner will tell you which one to use under the traditional method. In this question, examiner says, the company currently charges overhead to product using a plant-wide rate based on direct labor hours. That means currently the company is using traditional approach and the company uses direct labor hours to share overhead to different products. Now, requirement one says we should calculate unit production cost and unit profits using the traditional approach. Is there any part of the question we require further explanation before we go to the solution aspects? Okay, no problem. We shall move to the whiteboard soon next. I'm trying to enable the whiteboard. Okay. The first requirement, A, we have to calculate units, production, costs, and units profits. Okay. And I want to use traditional approach. Okay. You start with your products, the different product the company produces. We have 3 products in this company. We have products A, we have products B, and we have products C. Now go to the question, pick all your direct costs. What is the direct material cost per unit? Look at the question. For product A, 1,000 naira. For product B, how much?
1,200.
There's 1,200. For product C, how much?
1,500.
1,500. This is what we call allocation, because this cost can be traced to individual products. You can see it's direct material cost incurred in respect of product A, allocated directly to product A. Material cost incurred in respect of product B, allocated to product B. Material cost incurred in respect of product C, allocated to product C. Next, we move to direct labor. What is direct labor cost per unit?
140.
That is wrong. Is it 140 per unit? Examiner says direct labor is paid at 140 per labor hour.
I think it's
Did he say
1,400.
140 per unit?
No.
So careful. He said 140 per labor hours. That means I will now go and task myself. How many labor hours required to produce a unit of product A? Look at
10 hours.
this line.
10
hours for product A, 8 hours for product B, 9 hours for product C. We now go back to our workings. We create a small space here. Direct labor cost per unit is for product A, we require 10 labor hours. and labor rate per hour is 140. Please multiply.
1,400.
1,400.
That will give us, sorry, undo please. That will give us 1,400. For product B, we require 8 labor hours. Rate per hour of labor 140. Please multiply.
1,120.
1,120. For product C, we require 9 labor hours. The rate per labor hour 140. What do you have, please?
1,260.
1,260.
260.
You can now come back here. This will give me 1,100, 1,120, 1,260. Now, if you look at the question, we don't have direct expenses. In this question, there is no direct expenses. You now sum these two first. Sum. This will give you your prime cost. Prime cost. This is 2,400. This is 2,320. This is 2,760. Now introduce your overhead. Overhead cost. Overhead cost is the indirect cost. Any questions so far? All right. Now, I want to calculate overhead costs using direct labor hour, using the traditional method. First, look at it, please. Let me come here. We can see manager for it. Come here. First, calculate your overhead absorption rate. Overhead absorption rate. This is calculated as, this is equal to total overheads divided by, now in this question, examiner says overhead is absorbed by direct labor hour. So the total overhead cost divided by the total direct labor hour. We are using direct labor hour because the question says so. Look at it, please. the company currently charges overhead to product using a plant-wide rate based on direct labor hours. So we are picking direct labor hours for our calculation under the traditional approach because the question says so. You now come here and say total overhead cost divided by total direct labor hours. Now let's go back to the question. What is the total overhead cost? We can sum, look at it. Sum 2,460,000 plus 1.8 plus 860 plus 680, 640. Please sum. Let us get total overhead cost.
$5,580,000.
Yeah, 5,580,000. You might need to go to page 2, Seth. Let's go to page 2. Understanding it is more important than conserving books. We are ready. Can you see my page 2?
Yes, sir.
Total overhead. Let me expand this more. Total overhead is equal to 5,580,000. Okay, we now come to total direct labor hours. Total direct labor hours. You have your products A, B, C. For product A, to produce a unit, labor hour required is 10 hours. For product B, to produce a unit, we require 8 hours of labor. For product C, to produce a unit, we require 9 hours of labor. Is that not, please?
Yes, sir.
Now go back again. How many, look at it, production in units. How many are we going to produce for product A?
10,000.
10,000.
Product B?
4,000.
4,000.
Product C?
6,000.
6,000.
Now come here. Multiply by 10,000 units. Multiply by 4,000 units. Multiply by 6,000 units. Is Debbie online? Deborah, are you online? All right. Get it total. This should give me
100,000.
100,000.
32,000.
2,000 hours. Next,
54,000.
54,000 hours. Therefore, get total labor hours. Sum all the hours. 100 plus
186,000.
186.
86,000 direct labor hours. Come back here and say, or I can move down straight. Overhead absorption rate is equal to total overhead 5,580,000 divided by total direct labor hours 186,000. What do you have, please?
30 naira.
30 naira.
Okay, please. You say 30 naira per labor hour. Because it is labor hour we use to divide it. Is that not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please, there must be a basis. 30 naira per labor. Anytime you are calculating overhead rates, you must have a basis. Anytime we are calculating overhead rates, there must be a basis per labor hour. You have gotten the overhead rate per labor hour. You can now calculate overhead cost per unit. Look at it. Overhead cost per unit. Again, it will not harm you if you are writing. This online class is not something lecturer can even be fast. When you are solving question with a digital pad, look at it. Product A, B, C. Labor hours required to produce a unit of product A. 10 labor hours. And overhead rate per labor hour is 30.
Now,
Multiply by 30. What do you have?
300.
That is 300 naira. That is what we call overhead cost per unit of product A. Product B will require 8 labor hours. And overhead rate per labor hour is 30. What do you have, please? Multiply.
240.
240. For product C, we require 9 labor hours. And overhead rate per labor hour is 30. Multiply by 30. What do you have, please?
270.
270. That 300 naira, 240 naira. I'm trying to look for the This is what we call overhead cost per unit. We multiply hours by rates per hour. You can now go back to page 1. I'm trying to go back to page 1. Just 1 minute. Our overhead cost per unit For product A, 300 naira. For product B,
240.
For product C,
270.
270.
Please allow me to take this off. I will take it. I will not put this on here, sir, because I will still need to do profits. They allow me to just take this off. It was a if it is normal board, we are done in 5, we are done in 1 minute. I will need this space. I can't be going to another place for this. Okay, let's go on. Please, I can still manage this, please. So you can now get your unit production costs. Prime cost plus overhead, 2,700. Please, addition of this, what do you have?
2,560.
So 560. Addition of this, what do you have?
3,030.
3,030. This is your unit production cost based on the traditional approach, whereby overhead is absorbed using direct labor hour. Any question, please? Once you get your unit cost, you can calculate your profit. The question says markup. Markup is 25%. Your markup is your profits. Look at it here, please. The question says, look at it. The company calculates selling price by applying a markup on cost of 25%. Your profit, 25% of this cost, that's your profit for product A. Please compute. 25% of 2,700.
675.
675. 25% of 2,560.
640.
640. 25% of 30.
757.5.
7.
58.
57.5.
57.5. This is your unit profit. If you want to get selling price, your selling price is cost plus profit. If you want to calculate selling price, your selling price is production cost plus profits. If you want to add, you can add.
3375.
3375. Next.
32.
3,200. Next.
3787.5.
3787.5. We are done with requirement A. This is the traditional absorption costing method. Any question? If there's no question, we move to requirement B. If there's no question, we shall move to requirement B. Okay. People just give students give themselves too much headache. Are you crying? All right, let's go back to the question. Requirement B, calculate the unit production cost and unit profit based on activity-based costing principles. Okay, no problem. We'll move to our page 3. You can see the whiteboard being shared.
Yes, sir.
B, calculate unit production costs and profits and unit profits using A, B, C method. Again, start with your products. Products. Product ABC. Take your direct material cost. That will not change. Direct material cost will not change. This is 1,000, our Naira sign. This is 1,000 Naira. This is 1,200. This is 1,500. Pick the direct labor cost again. That will not change. We have computed before. Direct labor cost, we have computed. Please.
1,004.
Thank you. There is a difference between labor cost per unit and labor cost per hour. There's 1,004 per unit. For product B, I think 1,120.
Yes, sir.
And for product C, I think 1,260.
Yes, sir.
Now get your prime cost normal. That is the explanation we started with. Direct cost is not a problem. It is the indirect cost we have problem with. That will give us the prime cost. This is 2,400. This is 2,320. And this is 2,760. We now need to look for overhead costs based on activity now. Overhead cost now. Overhead cost, so it should be overhead cost. Now we now need to base it on activity, no longer labor hours. All right, we leave this. Let's go to page 4 for our workings. I've shared a new whiteboard. If you can't see it, let me know. Now, what are the steps involved now? First, identify the activities in the company. Yeah, let's go. Go to the question. Give me the activity.
So
You can't see it?
Yes, yes.
So we can't see the board.
Ah.
But I'm seeing the board now.
Once one person can see it, all of you must see it.
No, we can't see the new board. Oh.
Yeah, we're still seeing the old one, old calculation.
Okay, it's the old board.
Ah.
Okay. Aṣíwájú.
Yes, sir. Let me go back to it and now and see the board again. No. Can you see it now?
No, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Where you have activities.
Yes,
Yes.
Yo. Now let's go back to the question. Let us go and identify the activities in the question. So give me a question.
The activities, that's the overheads, right?
Yes, those are the activities. Machine related costs. Can we see?
Cost. Yes, sir. Setup costs.
Delivery
Delivery
cost.
costs. Quality related costs.
Okay, then we go. So we have machine related costs. We have set up costs. We have delivery cost. The last one is what? Quality.
Quality related costs.
Quality related cost. Look at the 4 activities. None of them is related to labor hours. We have taken the activities. Next, the cost pool. What is the over activity? For machine,
460,000.
460,000. For setup, please note all the costs.
1.8 million.
This one we have next is our cost, the cost pool. This is 2,460,000. This is 1,800,000. This is 680,000. And this is 640,000. This is step 2. So you don't need to cram anything. Identify activities, examiner will give you. The cost pool, examiner will give you. Next, your cost driver. Cost driver. Look at machine related. What can give rise to machine cost? Is machine hours. The more hours you use your machine, the more cost we are likely to incur in respect of that machine. The more you are using a machine, the more you are likely to service the machine. So the hours we have impact. If you put on your generator as a machine and you run generator for morning till night, the cost you are going to incur is different from if you use your generator for just 1 hour. So the cost driver for this machine is where's my mouse? This is machine hours. Look at setup. A number of setups. The more you set up production process, the more setup cost you incurred. I'll come here. The cost driver here, number of setup. Delivery cost. Look at it. Number of deliveries. I'll come here. Number of deliveries. quality-related cost. If you are to achieve quality, we must do inspection.
Section.
Number of inspections. Number of inspections. You observe that all the overhead costs, none of them is related to labor hours. That means the traditional approach is faulty, because we have used overhead to share, we have used direct labor hours to share the overhead cost to the 3 products. But in reality, all the costs incurred are not related to labor hours. This is what activity-based costing is trying to correct. We have done step 1, identify the activities, examiner will give you. Determine the cost pool, examiner will give, that is the cost of each activity. The cost driver, what next? Calculation will start from step 4. Calculate cost driver rates. Calculation will start from what? Step 4. When I come here, please let us pay attention to this. Let us pay attention to
Hello, sir.
this activity. You start with the first activity. When I want to calculate cost driver rates, what you want to do here, okay? You want to calculate cost driver rates. You start with the first activity. My first activity is machine-related costs. I want to use red ink here. I will now pick 1. Machine related cost driver rates. This is equal to machine related overhead costs, overhead divided by. Now you now go to the cost driver. I want to move this up small. What is the cost driver for machine related cost? I'm asking a question.
Machine hours.
What is machine hours divided by total machine hours? The cost driver for machine related cost is machine hours. Excuse me.
Please, oh, is it just me? Or I can't hear again?
I tried to pause name.
Oh, okay.
Only you. So we know the machine related overhead cost.
2,460,000.
We know the machine related overhead cost. That is 2,460,000.
60.
But we need to now go and calculate hours. Total machine hour now. I know this. Okay, we might need to go to now. This will take a lot of. Come here. Let's open more whiteboard. Let's open more whiteboard. I'm going to require like 4 more. It's a whole lot. Yeah, chunk like 4 more. It's a whole lot now, okay? Let me see.
Is this a whiteboard or blackboard?
Don't worry yourself. Oh. And I'm sharing. I know I'm going to share more board with the class. Can you see the new whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is page 5. We continue from here. I'll go back to that, don't worry. System is having so much to do today. No, you say, I don't need you, I needed you. I thought I won't respond this. Okay, it could be you. Okay. All right. I've shared a new whiteboard. We continue with, we want to calculate something like this. We have machine related cost driver rates. Okay. So I require machine overhead divided by total machine hours my machine overhead is equal to 2,640,000. But I need to calculate total machine hour, right? Total machine hour. Now back to the question. I have product A, B, C. Back to the question quickly. Now look at column 4, machine hours per unit. Can we all see it?
Yes.
4 hours for product A, 6 hours for product B, and 3 hours for product C. I'll come here, machine hour per unit, 4 hours, 6 hours, and 3 hours. Now, how many units are we going to do for product A?
10,000.
10,000 of A, 4,000 of B, 6,000 of C. Come here, multiply by 10,000 units, because it's machine hour per unit. Multiply by 4,000, Abi. Product B, how many units?
4,000.
4,000. Oh,
4,000 units. And product C, 6,000 units. Total year, 40,000 machine
40,000.
hour. Total year,
24,000.
machine hour for B. And total year,
18,000.
18,000 machine hour for C. Now, total machine hour.
82,000.
Totaling how much?
82,000.
82,000 machine hours. Now come back here, divided by 82,000 machine hours. That will give you the cost driver rate for machine related. How much?
30 naira per machine.
Thank you. Per machine hour. There must be a basis, please. Per machine hour. You must put a basis. You can now return here. I'm going to have 4,000 machine hour multiply by per machine hour is 30 naira. Multiply by return here, multiply by 30 naira. Multiply by 30 naira. Multiply by 30 naira. This is what we call allocation now to products. Total, what do you have here?
$2.460.
Eh?
1.2.
1,200,000. What do you have here?
720.
I have 720,000 here. Next.
540.
540,000 here. When you sum up these three, it must give you 2,460,000.
2,460,000.
If you don't get 2,460,000, that means there is a problem in your, there's an error in your calculation. Is that clear? Because the total for machine is 2,460,000. If you now allocate to individual products, it must give you back 2,460,000. If you don't get that back, that means there is a problem with your calculation. Is that clear, please? We have finished machine. We move to the next overhead. The next activity is what?
Setup cost.
Setup overhead cost. Come here, look at it. Number 2 activity now. set up cost driver rates. This is equal to setup overhead. What is the cost driver of setup?
1.8.
No, that is the cost. What is the cost driver?
Number of setups.
Number of setup.
Number of setups.
Thank you. Setup overhead divided by total number of setups. That is the cost. That is the cost driver divided by total number of setups. We now go to the question. I need to calculate number. Of course, the overhead will be given to you. The overhead will always be given to you. And I say, I need to now get total setups. I'll move down small. Total setups. List out your products. Product A,
ABC.
product B, then product C. Go back to the question. Number of setups. For A, 100 setups. For B, 30 setups. For C, 20 setups. Can we all see it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'll come here. 100, 30, 20. Total setup 150. I can come back up small. I'll now come here. Setup overhead 1.8 million. Is that not?
Yes, sir.
1.8 million divided by total number of setups 150. Please divide. What do you have?
12,000.
Please, you can't see 12,000 alone. 12,000 naira per what?
A setup.
A setup.
There must be a base. I keep on repeating this. Per set up. You can now return back to total setup. I've gotten 100 setup for product A. And per setup is 12,000 naira. I'll now come here, multiply by 12,000 naira. What you are doing now is what we call allocation. Multiply by 12,000 naira. Multiply by, let me move this more. Multiply by 12,000 naira. You have to do your allocation. Total year
1.2.
1,200,000. Next
360.
360,000.
240,000.
240,000. Sum the three together.
1.8.
He must give you back your total. Is that clear, please?
Yes, sir.
We move to the next page. I've shared a new whiteboard.
We're seeing it, sir.
Now, what is the third activity there?
Delivery cost.
Now come here. The third activity we have there, delivery cost driver rates. This is equal to delivery overhead cost, delivery overhead divided by what is the cost driver of delivery?
Total number of delivery.
Thank you. Divided by total number of deliveries. Of course, like I said, the examiner will always give you the overhead cost. It is the cost driver you need to now work on. The total delivery, number of deliveries. I will take my product ABC, have product A, B.
She's selling.
Please, and C. Now go check. How many deliveries for A?
1,000.
1,000 deliveries. For B?
550.
For C?
450.
Total deliveries?
2,000.
Okay.
We'll move on more. We can come back here and say delivery overhead in the question is 80,000 naira divided by number of deliveries total 2,000. What do you have, please?
340.
340 per delivery.
Thank you. 340 per delivery. 340 naira per delivery. You must put these bases there. You can now return and do allocation. Multiply by 340. Multiply by 340. Multiply by 340. This will give me
340,000. 187,000.
This will give me 187, and this will give me how much?
153,000.
163,000.
153.
Is 153.
Total.
For C is 153, sir. 153,000, not 163.
5. Now sum up your total.
680,000.
You have done the allocation here. You can see that this one involves a lot. All right. We now have the last one. Each one is taking a page.
This question you foul.
But it's because we are solving it online in this place now. In a how is this?
You take 3 pages in a normal exam question. 3 pages.
Go back to my normal. Okay. It's because we are dealing with so many.
Hello, sir. I hope this one's just working, sir.
I just what?
Yeah, just working.
Working.
Yeah, using them.
Yes,
Right?
They are workings. Well, if assuming we are solving a physical class, it will be faster than this. If you look at it, really, online class is more demanding. You need to see me, man. I'm trying to even move my neck. Your neck is stuck to one place for hours. Blood will not flow well. Online class is more demanding. Oh, all right. Can you see my whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Once you understand this concept, you can solve any question. We now go to the activity 4 now. We have quality. Quality related cost driver rates. I'm trying to state the formula all the time. Once you understand what to do, that means I need to pick quality related overhead, quality related overhead,
Number of inspection.
divided by what?
Number of inspection.
Total number of inspections.
In exam, you don't need to be writing all this formula out. Yes. Just pick your quality related overhead, then go and pick your total number of inspection and move fast. Total number of inspection. But for a lecturer, I cannot just start taking. Some student will say, we don't even know what he's doing. He was just picking figures. They will just come and say, you will never explain. But in exam, once you know what
you believe with that.
What do you say?
They'll just be looking like, you do with that.
Don't mind the lecturer. I will just pick figures. He didn't explain very well.
Don't know where they get figure with you.
To go back to the question.
640.
Now let's look at number of inspection. 200, 100, 100. Product ABC. Can we see it, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just come here. Total inspection. For product A, we have 200 inspections. For product B, we have 100 inspection. For product C, we have 100 inspection. That means total inspection is
400.
400.
I can come back here and say the cost driver rate for quality is equal to total overhead of quality, 640,000 divided by 400 total inspection. This is equal to what?
1,600
1,600
per inspection.
inspection.
1,600 per
Inspection.
inspection. We can now come back here and say allocation multiplied by 1,600 multiplied by 1,600 multiplied by 1,600. This will give you how much?
320,000.
320,000. 320,000. Next.
160,000.
160. Okay, 160,000. Then it's of 160,000 also. If you sum up, it must give you
40.
This 40,000.
40. Thank you. You have done with the 4. You have calculated the rate, you have done the allocation. All this one will happen in step 4. Your step 5 now share to each product. Your step 5, so that we can round up. Please confirm you can see the new whiteboard.
Not yet.
That means it's not shared yet.
Not allocated yet.
I don't know. Now reconfirm you can see the whiteboard.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can go to this now. Well, you know the way I'm going to round up this class. I'm going to eat. All right. Now come here. You open your overhead. I want to calculate overhead cost per unit now. Overhead cost per unit. Overhead cost. Overhead cost. Or I will use overhead cost analysis. Let me start with FX. I know where I'm going. Of course, you can rule. Take your products. Take your 3 products. B and C. Okay. I have fixed. I have machine. Related. I have sets costs. I have delivery costs. And I have quality. Quality related. We now go back to all your allocation now and be picking it. Looking at it, so you can see look at it. Allocation for quality, have we? The allocation for quality. Is that not?
Yes, sir.
For product A, 320,000, have we?
Yes, sir.
Product B, 160, product C, 160. I'll go back. For quality, this is 320. allocated to A. This is 160. Total allocated to B. And this is 160. Total allocated to C. Next, I'll go back again. This is delivery, is that not?
Yes, sir.
Allocation to product A 340. To product B how much?
87,000.
187.
To C income.
153.
We go back to the page we are dealing with. Here I have 340. I have 187. And I have 153. I will move to the next one. This is set up, is that not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. 1.2 for A, 360 for B, and 240 for C. I'll come here. 1.2 million. $360,000. 240,000. Then I'll go to the last one. Yeah, look at this. This is allocation for machine. Machine related, is that not?
Yes, sir.
All right. 1.2 for A, 720 for B, 540 for C. We come here, 1.2, 720, and 540. Now sum up for each product.
For
Get
A,
total for
A.
product A.
3,100,000.
3,060,000. 3,060,000. A.
No, where do you see 60,000?
60,000. Correct.
Which one is correct? 3 million.
60,000.
So, Mr. Ablatif, you are wrong. Total for B.
For C, 1,093,000.
1,093,000.
93,000.
93,000.
Okay. 1,093,000.
For B, 1,427,000. 427,000.
1,427,000. Please sum up the three. It must give you 5,580,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that means we are correct. Because the total overhead was 5,580,000. This is total overhead for each product. But I want to calculate overhead cost per unit. This is in Naira. 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 We are almost done. Don't worry. Go. I want to go. You now introduce production in units. Production in units. If you look at the question, this is 10,000 units. Is that not?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
This is 4,000 units. And this is 6,000 units. You can now get overhead cost per unit. Total overhead, 3,060,000 divided by 10,000. Overhead,
306.
overhead cost per unit. This is 306. What do you have here? $356.75. This is 356.75. What do you have here, please?
182.17.
Point 17.
17.
You have gotten overhead cost per unit. You now go and add it to the prime cost you calculated before. Let's note what we have here. And that prime cost we added before. Oh, we have done so many. 1, 2, 3. You got the first solution. Yeah, this is what we are trying to do. This is 306. This is
356.75.
Point
75.
Point what?
75.
75. And this is
182.
182.17. We can now get our unit production costs based on activity. Units production cost. Please, some.
2706.
2706. Some.
2676.75. 2676.75.
76.75. Then the last one.
2942.17.
2942.17. You have gotten unit production cost. This is unit production cost. I want to put cost here. This is Naira sign. Naira. Then you can get your profit. What is the markup?
25%.
Markup 25%. That is your unit profit. 25% of 2706. What do you have?
676.5.
676.5. 25% of 2676.75.
369.19. 669. 669.
Oh, 6
669.
It's
point
19.
19. 25% of 2942.17.
73.
73554.
7
3 5.
5 point
7
5.
54.
Yes, sir.
Five four, sorry. You have gotten your profit. This is the profit. This is your profit. If you like, you can calculate selling price, but it's not part of the question. Production cost plus markup will give you your selling price. Is that clear, please?
Yes, sir.
If you like, you can stop here, or if you like, you can calculate your selling price. Part A is just for 5 marks. This is 12 marks. Any question, please? All right. The part C is just theory, no issue. Identify 3 reasons why Kate Peters Limited should implement activity-based costing. That is the advantages of activity-based costing. You can pick any 3 from here, please, without wasting time. Look at it. 1. Why should Kate Peters implement activity-based costing? 1, because it provides the company with a realistic product cost. Mostly used in advanced manufacturing technology. If you look at the question, before the company, when the company was established in 2008, the company only produces 1 product. Now the company has invested heavily in technology. So it is better to use activity-based costing. Number 2, it helps the company to trace overhead to the individual products. It helps Kate Peters to be able to trace overhead cost to individual products. Number 3, it recognizes activities that cause cost. It recognizes the activities that give rise to cost.